I'm Kutulani, and thanks for tuning in this morning. We're going to hop on along right here because we got lots going on to KC's State of Miseducation. And this is titled The Left Thigh and Godhood of James Cook. Enjoy.
Aloha mai kako. Casey Cherie Pua Okamele here with State of Miseducation, continuing in our series on James Cook. We last left off with the Battle of Kealakekua. Cook had been killed, his men retreated, and his body abandoned on the shore. Now, there's a very prevalent myth in Hawaii and the world that the savage Hawaiian people cannibalized James Cook by eating his left thigh. This myth is entirely impossible. The reason being because the group in possession of James Cook's thigh was actually James Cook's crew themselves. Let me explain. After the battle, several brutal encounters took place, many more killings and acts of war. A peace was finally made on the 20th, thanks in large part to Keli'ikia, a kahunapule or priest. Even though Keli'ikia's own home was burned down in one of the attacks, and even though he was repeatedly shot at, Keli'ikia had the presence of mind to remain neutral and to work towards bringing the conflict to an end. As part of this aim, Keli'ikia returned James Cook's left thigh on the 15th. Why would he do such a thing? Well, because the crew was adamant that Cook's remains be returned. The problem was, the burial rites had already begun, and doing so at this time was quite impossible, hence the flesh of the left thigh. The crew, of course, were very appalled. In horror, they asked the question, "Do Nakanaka eat the flesh of their enemies?" Keli'ikia adamantly denied this, quite equally appalled. No, absolutely not. It was not the custom to practice cannibalism. Nakanaka were extremely careful with what and how they consumed anything, especially na'ali'i, because consumption is a matter of mana, and mana must be protected from corruption and preserved at all times. No, what happened to James Cook's thigh is, it was thrown out at sea by the crew. But why was the thigh separate from the body in the first place? It's because Cook's remains were given the high honor of an ali'i burial. Huh? But why was Cook given the burial of a chief, you ask? Well, because he was one. He was captain, a leader of roughly 150 men and 2 ships. Cook was given this burial out of respect for his rank, and much more importantly, so that his soul could pass over rather than torment Kealakekua forevermore. Ali'i burial rites varied by moku and region. In general, though, the body was burned, the flesh removed, along with irrelevant parts such as minor bones. Important bones were treated. Parts of the flesh were preserved, sometimes all or part of the hair. Once this process was complete, the remains were wrapped carefully in kapa, and it is in this manner that Cook's remains were returned to the crew on the 20th, wrapped in kapa and delivered with a black and white feathered cape. The return of the remains solidified the peace, and Cook was given a burial at sea by his crew the next day. About a month later, after visiting Oahu, Kauai, and Ni'ihau again to pick up more supplies, they finally left for good. Now, another prevalent myth is that Nakanaka regarded James Cook as a god. Is this true? I say no, because the word is wrong. The Western Judeo-Christian word God is a concept foreign to Nakanaka O'iwi at this time. A more appropriate word would be akua. No. Actually, the most appropriate word would be ali'i. To illustrate this, let's sidetrack a bit because this is extremely difficult to comprehend without a solid understanding of religious beliefs in Hawaii, and is much more difficult to do in English and through the Judeo-Christian lens, which is as incompatible with Old Hawaii as burial rites are. Let's sidetrack. If your ohana has an aumakua, think of what it is for a moment. On my mother's side, our aumakua is the pueo, the owl. When I see a pueo, what do I see? An owl or my aumakua? Well, it's both. The two are not exclusive from each other. Likewise, Na'ali'i hold a very similar position. Na'ali'i Nui, the ruling chiefs, were seen simultaneously as both Kanaka, human, and Akua at the very same time. The two are not mutually exclusive. All in all, James Cook was treated not as a Christian god, but rather as an Akua, or more precisely, an Ali'i. The word Akua is the closest approximation to refer to Christian God, but the concept is entirely different. Where Christian God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and separate from this mortal world, Akua can be found in the lowest rock beneath your feet. This has been Casey with State of Miseducation. Next week, we wrap up our series with a special episode and one of the most important to me. Part 6, The Maka'aina Na, A Glimpse in the Life. Let's keep it real, Hawaii.
And that was Sister Casey with her excellent, excellent series, The State of Miseducation. This particular series on the myths of Captain James Cook. Yeah, I always felt that when our Kanaka saw these guys drown, dying of scurvy, no more water, no more food, I don't think that they would have looked at these shrunken white men whose teeth were falling out, filthy, dirty, starving to death, as gods. That's just me. That's not someone I would think was a god who needed something from me, because, well, supposedly God has all, right? You're listening to Kauai Community Radio, KKCR Hanalei.